Nothing is worth it if you don't feel safe. Nothing is worth it if everyone else is having a good time and taking advantage of you and you're sitting there feeling horrible about yourself. This is Mindset by Natalia and welcome back to my channel. We are covering one of the most important topics that absolutely changed my life, which is how to set boundaries. How to set physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, and spiritual boundaries. Boundaries are probably the reason that I'm here today and have such a happy and fulfilling life. I would say that my greatest growth period came from when I was in university. I was studying college, and let me tell you, I feel like I had no boundaries. People walked all over me, people did what they wanted to do to me, and I just did it. It's like a mix between having no boundaries and being a people pleaser. And when you combine those two, you can get yourself into some very dangerous and unhealthy situations. And I don't want that for you. To start off, boundaries are for you. You are building a fence around your house. And this fence is what we call boundaries. So often we want to place our boundaries on other people. Other people aren't showing up for you in the way that you want. Boundaries are for you. You determine your boundaries, and this is the important part. You need to be willing to follow up on those boundaries. You need to be able to look at people's actions or character and ask yourself, is this the kind of person I want to let into my fence? And if you do not want that kind of person in your life, it is your obligation to take that person out. Do not let them come into your fence. Do not let them come into your sacred space that you've created for yourself. If you don't respect your own boundaries, you cannot expect anyone else to. People are going to honestly take as much as they can. It is kind of a human thing. You take until someone tells you that is a limit, no more. People keep taking and taking. So if you're willing to just to give and give and give and have no boundaries, that is really going to negatively impact your life. And I don't want that to lead to resentment and being angry with yourself later on because you feel like you let certain situations happen. When it came to relationships, when it came to friendships and my discipline and my schedule and all these things that were changing in my life for the first time, of course you run a little wild. You do things that you've never tried. Again, it's like pure experimentation. You're learning, you're growing, you're challenging yourself to new things, new activities. And that is supposed to be a part of life. Challenges are supposed to be a part of life. When you have no boundaries, you attract takers. It's a natural thing. When you're willing to give everything, someone has to be willing to take everything. Let's start with physical boundaries. Physical boundaries was the 1000% turning point for me. The physical boundaries that I developed over the last couple years have been the life-changing force that gave me the ability to add boundaries in other areas of my life. Again, in university, when it came to physical boundaries, like the way that people would touch me or talk to me, those kinds of things, we're focusing on physical. There were so many situations where very uncomfortable situations were brought on, and I feel like I was completely silent in the matter. It could be some guy was putting his hand on my back, or someone was putting their hand on my knee and gradually raising it. And I hear this, especially from women, because most of my friends are girls, but I hear this all the time. These little forms of trying to make you uncomfortable, but doing it slow enough to the point where you feel like you cannot speak out. When it comes to setting up boundaries and being able to say, hey, no, don't talk to me like that. Don't touch me there. That makes me uncomfortable. I know that it takes so much strength, and obviously in those situations you need to feel at least somewhat safe. I'm telling you, when you do feel safe, when you do feel like you can say, no, that's not going to happen. I am not going to do that. I don't feel comfortable going there physically. Or this is a personal boundary. Like, that's not going to happen. It doesn't matter how much you ask, how much you beg, how much you try, it's not happening. And I truly know that that is a scary feeling because so many things go into it, like your self-image and how other people perceive you. And people saying that you are just taking yourself so seriously. and devaluing your emotions and your thoughts. You know, your body knows. Your body is so aware when it feels stressed, when it feels unsafe. It can see that from a mile away, but you have to be willing to listen to that voice, and that's your intuition speaking. Set your intentions. Again, set your fence for yourself. And if people are trying to cross that fence, if people are trying to cross you, you need to be willing to take the action of removing that person from your house. 1000%. And again, when it becomes a repeated offense, like people consistently try you more and more and more, in this sense, like physical boundaries with whoever it might be, the more you accept that, the further and further into your house you're letting them, the harder that it is to take them out. You are the one that has to be ready to say no when someone comes to your fence. That is your task, to learn how to say no, learn how to stand up for yourself. I know, it can be scary, and you think about what people will say and you wonder if people are going to make fun of you. It doesn't matter. Nothing is worth it if you don't feel safe. Nothing is worth it if everyone else is having a good time and taking advantage of you and you're sitting there feeling horrible about yourself. I had to distance myself. I had to distance myself from people and situations and scenarios and atmospheres. I had to take myself out physically, do some mental note taking. Again, put these new boundaries in place and then act upon them later. It was a muscle, but for me, I was just so sick and tired of being taken advantage of that it naturally kind of came to me as maybe another point of extremism where I was like, no one is ever going to disrespect me. No one is ever going to touch me in a way that I don't want. In a way that I don't want. And I'm never going to feel like I'm in an uncomfortable situation or feel unsafe. And of course, this is life. Things come up, and there's things that are absolutely not in your control. Things that situations just happen and people take advantage of you, and we move on and we go to therapy and we heal ourselves from that. It is our responsibility to heal from it, because hurt people hurt people. You cannot be an angry, hurtful person about the things that have happened to you. They're not your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal those traumas, because if you don't heal those traumas, they come back and they lash out and the cycle keeps going. Then you start hurting people intentionally or unintentionally. And I never want that to happen. The cycle ends with you. You are the last person in your generation or your family or your group of friends that isn't going to take responsibility and heal yourself from the inside out, and see how much peace that brings you. Let's talk setting emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries for me broke down to the category of friends and family. I needed to learn, again, building my fence in a certain metaphorical sense. I needed to learn how to say no. I needed to learn to take a stance and be seen as the one that's complicated and is so emotional and says whatever's on her mind and thinks of herself first. We need to find the middle ground where you are raising your stance. And I can't tell you, especially with family, this really hits home for me, because I can't tell you how many times I've set up boundaries with my family. And yeah, people say things like, well, you just don't love your family anymore, or your priorities are so shifted, I don't like who you're becoming, or why do you have to be so selfish? I've heard all those things, and it's very difficult to do this if you don't have a very good sense of self-centering, and you need to be grounded in yourself to be able to handle things like this. You're not dictating how other people come at you. You are leading them out the door if they're not willing to cooperate with how you want them to behave, if you're not satisfied with how they're treating you. And I can't tell you, this really does guilt trip you a little bit. And it's hard to stick it out. And it's hard. And you start questioning yourself, like, am I really this selfish person? Or am I really just taking a stance for myself? And you will need to trial and error this. Sometimes you're going to say, I went too extreme on this. I could have lent out a helping hand. And sometimes you're going to be like, I didn't go far enough with this. I read this fantastic book on boundaries. I actually just thought of this. I'll put it up on the screen. Just like the stoplight on your street, red is okay, no, let's start with green. Green is the first time you mention that you are not okay with something boundary wise. The second time, yellow, you're like, hey, this already happened. This is not happening again. You take a much further stance. And red is like kick them out time, or it's time to completely say exactly how you're feeling. Very straightforward, very willing to say and look at your boundaries and say, this is what I'm saying. You will not cross that. And it's hard, but again, it that book really helped me in not going one extreme or the other. It helps you, give you like certain points, and it gives you a lot of scenarios. Definitely check out this book. I just remembered it. It would be a great help if you're looking to read something on boundaries. And when you feel like you've mastered emotional boundaries, the rest is just for fun. When you have emotional boundaries, you start feeling so safe in your body. You find yourself feeling safe in your mind. You find that you attract people who naturally are willing to give you what you desire, good treatment, speaking to you well, respecting you, treating you like the amazing person that you are. Everyone is 100% worthy, but it takes effort to do some of this stuff. It really does. And the final boundary setting we're talking about is spiritual. Spiritual, I'm honestly keeping spiritual to be about yourself and about your higher beliefs, like God or the universe or something higher in the universe. This is what I mean when I'm talking about spiritual boundaries. Spiritual boundaries, I also feel like, is talking a lot about discipline. The discipline we carry in our spirituality, in what am I constantly doing to keep my relationship going with myself, to keep knowing myself, to keep seeing situations that come up and being able to set boundaries around them. Also, how can I ask God and the universe and all these not external, actually the most internal, these spiritual beings for guidance and help? I can't tell you how many times I did that. You need to have a relationship with some kind of higher power if you want to feel guided in a spiritual way. It is truly comforting. There's a reason why religion and faith has flourished for thousands and thousands of years. People like a ritual and they like to feel like there's something above them. They like to feel like the reason that they're here on this earth matters. If you know me, normally I talk about the importance of going internal to external. So starting with the spirituality, starting then with your mental well-being and the emotional boundaries, and then going to physical. In this case, I like, again, speaking from personal experience, for me it was, I don't feel safe physically. I don't think about anything else. You Physical safety is like your body's natural way of saying, I, like, this is like survival. This is like bare minimum. I have to feel safe in my body. Like I said, when you get to emotional, that's when I was honestly tested the most, because physical boundaries, I realized when I set them and I left and I was out of there, no one was coming to get me. Like, I felt safe in knowing that I could trust myself to get myself out of situations. But when it came to emotional, it was, okay, my parents are telling me that I'm being selfish in this case. And that was hard. That was hard as a people pleaser. And it's just hard. It's harder with your family for sure. A huge part of this was being able and willing to forgive myself. This is a huge part of it. You will see that when you start setting boundaries, you feel so good. It feels so relieving to just feel safe and happy and secure and be doing the things that you want. But it definitely will come up that you might have regret. You might feel sorrow. You might question yourself, why did I let that situation happen? Or why did this end up happening like that? And forgiveness and self compassion is huge here. I mean, for me, it's always like therapy. It's an amazing way to connect with someone that's professionally trained. And in therapy, you can heal, you can talk about things, you can, like, they can help you set boundaries, they can help guide you through that experience, which is super beneficial. You have to learn how to forgive yourself, and you need to understand that you did the best that you could with the situation at the given time that you were given it. You cannot look at yesterday with today's wisdom, as they say. You can't look back with the tools that you've gained now and try to apply them to something that already passed. Again, living in the past in general can create a lot of regret and depression around things. So focus on the now. Focus on healing that part of you and choosing the person that you are now. Choosing who you are now, choosing the boundaries that you hold now. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Today was definitely a deep dive into the things that matter in all of our lives, setting boundaries, but how to actually apply that. And I want that for you. I want you to stand up and say no more, or say, this is exactly what I want. I want you to take purpose of your life and intention. Lead your life with intention. Lead with leadership. You know what's best for you. Your body knows what's best for you. With all that being said, thank you so much again for watching today's video, and I will see you next week. Bye.